Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Black Book Today. Sam McKee and Bob Hollywood Hayden with you as we get ready for the second session here at Harrisburg. And after day one, I guess you can say the Western Hanover influence was certainly felt.
Marquee attraction, Western Hanover's last crop. 67 yearlings will go under the block, but 31 of them went Monday, including 20 of his 36 colts and 11 of his 31 fillies.
And speaking of on the block, how about the new kids on the block, the first crop stallions?
We kind of knew the new kids on the block would be well received, and they were. Glide Master, Chocolatier, and American Ideal.
And it's World Series week. How about the heart of the batting order?
That's right, the meat of the lineup. You expect them to produce, and they did. Muscles Yankee, Rock and Roll Hanover, Windsong's Legacy, and Andover Hall. The heavy hitters came through.
And the international influence was certainly felt on opening day at Harrisburg as well. A Rock and Roll Hanover half-sister to Well Said sold to New South Wales for $300,000. The word is that John Stark Jr. will train the filly here in the United States. So thanks for watching the Black Book Today. Plenty more to come. Stick with us. We talked on the open about dreaming big here at Harrisburg at the yearling sale, and a guy whose dreams were fulfilled is joining us now. That's trainer Greg Peck of Muscle Hill fame. And Greg, you must have to pinch yourself sometimes. Can you believe what has happened with this horse and the career he's had?
You know, Sam, it is a dream come true, as well as what's hard to believe. I said this the other day. When I thought about it, there wasn't really a bump in the road. There wasn't a day when I said, oh, gee, he's not good today, he's not sound, he's sick, he's whatever, we're in trouble. I never had a day like that. And if you had asked me here at this sale this time last year, you know, is he going to have a year next year where he just coasts through 12 races, wins them all, uneventfully, no problem, I would have said no. So I guess, as you said, Operation Hambletonian complete. It's Operation Trotting Colt, maybe best ever complete.
It might be tougher to keep a 2-year-old unblemished than a 3 because of the gaps in their schedule. Tell us a little bit about the 2-year-old season that Muscle Hill had.
Yeah, well, he had gaps, and you raise a good point. Holiday Road, who went a very impressive mile in the Peter Houghton, didn't come out of it good, lost weight, and I brought him to Lexington, and I shouldn't have. I should have done what has been done in the past, is to shut them down after the Peter Houghton. But because of the success, Bob, of the Muscle Hill situation last year, I thought I could emulate it, and I couldn't, where it isn't easy to do with the gaps. But the other thing that you had last year is the Breeders' Crown was much later, so he got a couple of breaks at 2. He had the break from the Peter Houghton to Lexington, and then from Lexington, you know, right till the end of November for the Breeders' Crown. So this year it was slightly different, but it looks like it probably is something that helped him last year.
Perhaps the most stressful situation you had to deal with during the 2009 season was probably the World Trotting Derby, where your driver, Brian Sears, went up to Canada, didn't look like you were going to race. There was a time for an hour or two you thought you'd drive the horse yourself. Tell us a little bit about what happened that day.
Well, what happened was, is if you saw the track, you thought, there is no way they're going to race today. And I remember especially Tim Tetrick went out and looked at the track, came back and said, no way, and he's from there. So I thought, you know, there's something to this. But literally, I asked for the guy in charge who ran the fair, who's the general manager of the Des Moines State Fair, and they told me, and he looked at the track, and I said, I'd like for you to try it. And he said, will you race that horse? I said, I'll race the horse. He said, fire up the equipment, and it was just an unbelievable job that they did. But as far as Brian leaving, I suggested that he probably have to leave. It did not look good, that's for sure. It didn't look good because of the track conditions, so I really can't blame him for that. 20
straight wins to wind up his career. How important was it to keep that streak alive?
Well, you know what? It was quite a streak to keep alive, and what was nice was to win the Breeders' Crown. As a matter of fact, Steve Elliott congratulated me down there today, and it was nice for him to say it. It felt good that, you know, because you could just see that it's probably something that he would have liked to have had, and it didn't happen. But again, you know, maybe that's another example of the race later in the year and all that stuff. So that was nice to finish it. Arguably, he was as good when he stopped as he was in June, as he was in August, as he was in September, October in Lexington. It was an amazing thing. You'd have to see the shape and the overall mental demeanor that he had and everything. He was ready to go.
The one disappointing thing about the season for me from a racing fan's point of view Greg, you never had a shot to break 150 weather-wise. Probably Hambletonian Day you could have done it, but hey, that's a day you just want to win the biggest race in the sport. Lexington, the weather didn't cooperate. DuQuoin, the weather obviously didn't cooperate. In your mind, perfect conditions, how much does the colt trot?
Probably, I'm sure he would have trotted in 49. I mean, he could have done that Hambletonian Day. I have no doubt in my mind. And sometimes I wonder, maybe he could have even shaded 49. I don't know, but certainly 49. But Sam, you know, I must say, there's nobody in the business that I know of who, you know, has a good read of the business that doesn't think that he could have easily beaten 150. So it's almost like he might as well have. Also, I'll say this, I don't ever recall, and you know, I'm a student of the business, I've read about it for years, I've watched it, I'm 3 generations of it. I don't think there's ever a colt trotter, really a horse of any gender, of either gait, that won as easily as he did time and time again. I guess you'd have to think about Niatros, you know, but he went over the rail that time, and then he got hitting the bike, I think, in the eliminations of the Wilson, or the Meadowlands Pace, I just forget which one, and he won that. But if you just think of all the other greats, at some point, when you think of Mac Lobel, how great he was, you know, at the wire in the Hamiltonian, he made a break because his feet, you know, he had to be pushed. Where this horse, that never happened. He was never ever turned loose, that's for sure. So it's I look at it in that light. I'd rather that he went out that way than somebody said, you know, because let's face it, there is nobody now that can suggest he had any vulnerability. It's not like they're saying, oh yeah, if so-and-so, this had happened, he would have beaten him. I have never heard that. You know, I heard in advance of races, people thought they might beat him, but once it was over, I never heard anybody say, you know, if the trip had worked or this or that, they would have beaten him.
Well, one last topic that I'd like to get into. There are some people that say, well, you know, the crop wasn't that deep, but people forget Explosive Manor is a dual world champion.
Well,
and he was like 5 lengths behind you.
Not only that, I think any other year, Explosive Manor would have been the best trotter. Now, that's my opinion. He's a very good trotter. As you say, you know, he was excellent, certainly on the 5/8. He was great when he went in 155 at Dover last year as a 2-year-old. You know, everybody thought there's one coming out there. I think what happened to the crop, with respect, is they probably get tired chasing Muscle Hill. That's really what happened, because remember we talked in July, I'd be telling you guys greatest crop ever. I could name so many that, you know, that were on the list that were really, really good. But as the year rolled on, I just think it kind of started in the Hambo when Muscle Hill just drove away from Explosive Matter and the others were just struggling behind at that point. It just seemed that put, you know, a damper on their careers for the rest of the year.
The horse of a lifetime, Muscle Hill, his trainer Greg Peck, great job, congratulations.